Welcome to yet another episode of Fridays with Dhavres. We continue with the second part of our topic, bridging the gap between Hahnemannian principles and modern psychiatry. So last time we went through important Hahnemannian principles in treating mental diseases, then through a case whom we diagnosed to be having panic disorder, dependent personality disorder and depressive disorder. We saw that how applying modern diagnostic systems in psychiatry, modern approaches of understanding psychopathology can help us to differentiate characteristic and common symptoms, and furthermore also help us in understanding unique disposition. Based on this characteristic data, we figured out aconite and calcarea carb to be the similimum at acute and chronic levels respectively. And before we stopped, we saw in brief the basics of psychiatric formulation that could be useful for us to identify various exciting and maintaining factors of the case. So today we go ahead and see the formulation matrix for this case, see how we can plan interventions based on the psychiatric formulation, and also go through various interventions and its roles. And finally, we summarize our learning. Just to revise, last time we discussed psychiatric formulation to be a process which helps in understanding a person with respect to the framework of biopsychosocial model and how various etiological factors operate on this person. So the etiological factors are to be identified at 4 levels: the predisposing factor, the precipitating factor, the perpetuating factor, and the protective factor as well. In this case, if you remember, we saw many predisposing factors occurring at the social, that is the environmental level, which led to the development of a personality who is abnormally dependent, has low self-esteem, is prone to use unhealthy coping mechanisms such as lying, avoidance, self-blame, and also displays chronic dysfunctional thought patterns. In cognitive language, we call these thought patterns as catastrophizing, all or none thinking, labeling, etc. Right? So, on this vulnerable diathesis, when we have some changes that occur during pregnancy, which when coupled with active stressors such as sudden deaths in families, problems with in-laws, financial stress factors, all this push this vulnerable diathesis into a spectrum of psychopathology, which is seen through extreme anxiety, shock, anguish, reactivation of various fears, which then in turn lead to panic disorder and furthermore depression. Okay, now when we take cases specifically who are having mental issues, we do assess an important component in them which we call as insight. Insight basically is a part of mental status examination that we do in these cases. So what is insight? Insight is basically, insight entails awareness, and it is the process of appraisal of one's own problem, emotion, thought, action, and how they could be contributing to his problem. Insight has 6 grades, okay? Grade 5 and 6 is supposed to be very good insight, which we call it as emotional and intellectual insight. Now, in this case, the patient was aware that there is a problem, but she wasn't really aware as to why the problem is probably coming from, and that there could be significant factors inside her, within her, which could be the contributors to this problem. And that's why her insight was not very good, although it was partially present. And that's why I've put it as insight grade 4, slightly going towards grade 5. But when this awareness is not there in its whole extent, that itself is going to act as a maintaining factor for putting her every time into panic disorder. Apart from that, the maladaptive traits of the unhealthy coping strategies and cognitive distortions are responsible for every single time to evaluate the stress in a very different line and trigger panic and depression in her. So they become one of the important perpetuating, or what we can call as maintaining factors. And with this, all we also have in the family and the environment, husband whose behavior was drastically changed, parental attitudes which are still the same, constant labeling going in terms of she being selfish, she being attention seeking, and all of these are also significant maintaining factors in this case. Now, the only obvious protective factors here are her motivation and intention to get better, which comes out from her attachment with children, and also some factors like, for example, education, which she has not even thought of that it could be utilized as a strength and might help her in preventing some issues in her life. Okay, so with this, we also can figure out that if there are any factors which could be modified or the modification process could be started right away, then these are the factors at the level of your patient's psyche. On the other hand, the social factors which are important triggers and are acting as maintaining causes, they also need to be addressed, but they are relatively unmodifiable considering the way the in-laws, the husband and the parents have been showing the approach towards her. Also, not that they are bad people, but remember one thing, we are dealing with a case of dependent personality, and probably family has had already been going through a tough time for many years, not knowing how to deal with her. So they might be having their own things which also need to be addressed. So that seems to be little difficult and relatively unmodifiable. But yes, we have to consider that while we plan interventions. Okay. So this entire formulation now gives us a clarity that it is not just a panic attack that we need to deal with, but there are so many intricate issues that we need to consider into account. Only then we are possibly going to have a significant improvement for this case. So let's go ahead and see what interventions were planned here. Okay. So, with the interventions, now that we have diagnosed the person at the level of clinical diagnosis as well as at the level of person diagnosis, the homeopathic intervention was planned. Of course, Calcarea carb as a constitutional is aimed at remitting the panic attacks and improving mood, physical generals, that is the disturbances in sleep and constipation, and as well as putting the panic attacks into complete remission. And of course, the aim was also to see if it can bring about change in the traits, the core traits. Similarly, Aconite was aimed to reduce the intensity and duration of panic attacks, so it was to be given only to be used as SOS. Going ahead, Dr. Hahnemann has always mentioned or highlighted specifically in various aphorisms, specifically in aphorism number 224 and 228, the need for gentle and empathetic environment, the need for appropriate psychical behavior to be adhered to, giving sensible advices, friendly exhortations, consolatory arguments, etc. So, to translate what Hahnemann has said into theory to practice, the closest running approach that we have today with these guidelines is probably the person-centered therapy given by Dr. Carl Rogers. Okay. The basic tenet of person-centered therapy is that if you provide unconditional empathetic environment to the patient, then it is very much possible that patient himself can discover what is wrong, the whys of the problem, as well as figure out the best solution for himself. Our role in this case becomes of that of a facilitator, where we use systematic techniques such as active listening, mirroring of emotions, paraphrasing thoughts, etc. through all the time we meet the patient, so that the journey of this self-discovery starts. Okay, that's why constitutional remedy with person-centered therapy was planned for her. And apart from that, these core interventions Something was planned also to take care of the environmental triggers in terms of psychoeducation, family therapy, so that at least the labeling can stop. They will learn how to rationally deal with this patient who is so clingy in nature, and that might help in reducing or rather bringing about a better change in your case. But of course, as discussed, we do not rely heavily on these environmental interventions. Okay. While I plan this, there are certain precautions and dangers that I have to anticipate and have a backup plan for the same. So the dangers and precautions that are anticipated is first and foremost, no active cognitive psychotherapy for this case right at start, for two reasons. One, there is poor insight, and these cognitive therapies require a good amount of insight and preparation from the patient's side to take up a lot of onus of change by doing various activities. She is not ready. Plus, these psychotherapies are highly structured in nature, and probably looking at her life space, so much of structure and instructive therapy is probably the last thing that she needs as of now. Okay. So no active cognitive psychotherapy, although it is shown to have good results in such cases, but not as of now. Let's not forget, she is a case of dependent personality disorder. So I, instead of being a facilitator who brings about a positive change, might get reduced to just another support in her life on whom she on whom she clings. So I have to see that in due course, in my zeal to be empathetic and unconditional towards her, I don't make her dependent too much again on me, and have that midway with this particular issue. And of course, I have to be very patient and very observant to assess the change, since there are active triggers. So every follow-up, I might have a follow-up which is clouded with emotions and what happened in that week. So I have to be very clear as to how I assess the improvement, because there are going to be a lot of fluctuations. And to determine the improvement in core traits, hence, will become even more difficult. And to bring objectivity to this assessment, I thought that let me see if any kind of the psychometric assessments that we have today can come to my help. Okay, so objective assessment was planned in terms of NEO-FFI, which is a personality test, which is thought to be accurate measure of 5 domains of personality, that is neuroticism, extraversion, openness, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. Each of them further cover a lot of facets such as anxiety, vulnerability to stress, learned helplessness, and many more. So when we use this test, it might help us to gauge the personality traits and the improvement in a detailed and more objective way. Okay. Plus, the test is also known to be having high test-retest reliability and validity. So the scores that we might get would be more robust to tell us, coupled with our clinical assessment about the improvement of this case. So all said and done, we will go ahead and see what happened to this case. So this case was managed for a duration of almost 2.5 years, starting from December 2015 to September 2018. Calcarea Carb 1M was required through and through without any change. Aconite 200 was given as SOS, and person-centered therapy was used most of the times. Psychoeducation with family was tried, but it did not help much. Before starting the treatment, as discussed, NEO-FFI was given. The scores were indicators of high amount of anxiety traits, and low to extraversion, and openness to experience was also low. What happened to those scores we will see later, right? So for the first 6 months when the treatment was started with Calcarea Carb 1 and 1 dose weekly and PCT, I could see the reduction in the frequency of panic attacks. Significant reduction was there. Mood in generals were improving, but it was fluctuating since the triggers were still acting on her. Qualitatively, insight would be, I can say that did improve to some extent, where she started to at least look at the panic attacks objectively and would say that, okay, I can see that every time I get these symptoms, they don't mean heart attack, so I will try to be okay. There were some safety behaviors that she adhered to, like always carrying SOS no matter what, and would get very restless if the SOS was not there, so that became her support system. She did become a little clingy towards me, where she would always text me every time she experienced any symptom for assurance and validation. So this was there for the 6 months. This, since it did not improve much, by June 2016, Calcarea Carb 1M 1P was increased to 3 powders. 1M 1P was increased to 3 powders, and since I was not there for next 6 to 7 months, PCT was not given, and I was only available on phone for quick follow-ups. During those follow-ups, it was seen that panic furthermore improved in frequency. She would just get 1 attack a month. Mood and generals improved, although the triggers kept on acting. And it was also seen that when Calcarea Carb was finished for a couple of weeks and she didn't get the symptoms increase, so it was very clear that Calcarea Carb was needed and SL wasn't really helping her. It was Calcarea Carb which was giving out the improvement. Plus, safety behaviors also, to my surprise, did go down, although there was no psychotherapeutic technique used. Core traits were difficult to gauge on phone. So there is no assessment of that for this time period, but insight was improving because her WhatsApp, whenever it would come to me, it would be like, I got this panic attack, but I know it was panic attack. She did not ask for assurance now. Plus, the number of WhatsApps also were reducing. Further on, when I met her in Feb 2017, from then to December 2017, the follow-ups were pretty much irregular, although the improvement sustained on regular medicine of Calcarea Carb. But core traits were still difficult to gauge because one follow-up she would look like she's taking strong stands, the other she wouldn't, in terms of issues that used to happen with husband. And that's why a need was felt to see that if I can bring about the reassessment through new FFI to add on more objectivity. Okay, so we'll go ahead and see what happened from January 2018. So, new FFI was given to her again, and it was seen to my surprise that the neuroticism, which was very high, had dropped down to being average. Extraversion score had improved from 24 to 30. Openness to experience also had improved from 20 to 29. The other two remain stable, but these three things showed a significant change on the positive line. Okay, and to add on to this, in my clinical assessment, what I found by February to March 2018 was, during the follow-up, she came and said to me, "Ki ma'am, I have applied for the school and I have my interview scheduled the next week." The thing which the entire family, the husband, had been pushing her to do, ki go and get a job and start earning something, start working, was not happening for last 7 to 8 years, and that has now started to happen, and she had done it proactively. Okay, uh, her mood and panic was almost back to normal. There was anxiety, but it would be limited to a manageable anxiety and not really get converted into panic attacks. So that was also seen by this time. And this happened, this improvement was seen irrespective of the triggers being present in the environment, very much at the same intensity, showing that her coping mechanisms and adaptive mechanisms also have improved. Okay, so with this objectivity added on with the clinical assessment was giving us the understanding that the interventions that we had planned in terms of Calcarea Carb and PCT are very much working for her. And in that too, it is probably more the influence of our homeopathic intervention, because if you see, the person-centered therapy was not very regularly given to her. It was just being on and off through small interactions for over 1 year. Right? The only factor which was going on regularly was Calcarea Carb. So it could be attributed, at least for this case, that our homeopathic medications can act at a level where they could bring about a change in the core personality too. Further, the case settled very much by June to September 2018. There were only some significant, rather some specific thoughts with terms of how to be assertive, how to put forth certain points. It was more about communication skills, which were addressed by CBT at that time. And otherwise, even after putting on SL, the panic attacks were not there, irrespective of triggers being there or stressors being active. Anxiety was better, mood was better, generals remained better with SL as well. And so the case was stopped for active management, since she also started to take strong stands in front of her husband when he would start blaming her by saying that you cannot say this to me. She would become confrontative at the times where it was needed to. So with all this, it was told that she can connect to me now whenever required, but otherwise the case was stopped for active management. Till April 2020, she did require a couple of times to meet me for anxiety, which got managed quickly, and there were some acutes for which she met. In April 2020, she met me for 2 panic attacks what she had got due to COVID, where the fear again was that if she gets COVID, she might be thrown somewhere in isolation for a month, and the fear of coming out of the comfort zone was really disturbing her. And that's why again Calcarea Carb was given with some psychoeducation, and that settled her. And after that, there have been no complaints since May 2020. So, so we come here to almost a full circle. If you see right from the start, in this case, there has been a lot of to and fro movement from Hahnemann principles to modern psychiatry and vice versa, so that we understand the case better and we further manage the case better. Right. So right from case taking, wherein we already are at a vantage point because of the guidelines of case taking, which allow us to explore a person in a holistic way, with the unprejudiced observation, the skills that we develop to do unprejudiced observation, all of this run very much in congruence with the principles of psychiatric interview and what is said to be done in MSC, that is mental status examination. Similarly, utilizing the concept of DSM-5 enhances our understanding of which are the common expressions and which are the characteristic expressions. We go beyond the nosological classification or name of the disease. Plus, all these aspects of biopsychosocial model, diathesis stress model, approaches to understand psychopathologies such as cognitive approach, psychodynamic approach, all this just help us to do what Hahnemann says, that is to understand the totality, to understand the inner nature of a person, to understand the internal essence of the disease. So all these things help us over there and refine our understanding further. And then when it comes to management, this refined understanding puts us in a very good position to come out with a remedy which matches at the deepest level of your patient. And that's why then the remedy is capable of not just dealing with the mental state, but also bringing about positive change in the disposition. Okay. Apart from that, what Hahnemann has talked about how we should connect with patient, this is further practiced by utilizing the modern psychotherapeutic techniques which come to a lot of help over there. And further, when we get confused, probably the psychometrics that we have today can help us to add more objectivity in assessing these subtle changes that might go. So the objectivity coupled with our clinical assessment definitely puts us in a robust position to decide that how our interventions are actually working for a case, right? So this was just one case. In our practice, there are so many cases where our principles provide answers in terms of treatment and quality of life, where the modern advancements do still struggle, be it other personality disorders, be it neurodevelopmental disorders, be it schizophrenia, specifically the negative symptoms, and many more. On the other hand, these same advancements that you see, right, from neurotransmitter understanding, neuroplasticity, psychological constructs, psychometric assessments, all of these can help us to refine our understanding of mind, furthermore convert our abstract concepts to measurable constructs. This is going to help us to strengthen our research and establish homeopathy as a robust and an evidence-based medicine. Just to sum it up, Isaac Newton once said that we build too many walls but not enough bridges, right? So if we can bridge the gap of both these sciences in the field of mental health and put the principles from both these sciences cohesively to work, then we are certainly accomplishing the mission that has been given by Dr. Hahnemann to us in aphorism number 1. So that's it here. That's from my side today. So thank you MLD MHI and my teachers for guiding me through this, and thank you everyone for your patient listening. Signing off, Dr. Ananya Chitay.